Hello, welcome to another macro video. We have got the CopyToList macros today. The point is that there are now 7 of them, so I want to show you how they came about and give you an overview so that you can see what they're for and what might be appropriate for what you're wanting to do. So, first of all, what about macro principles? What do macros do for you? And then we'll see how that applies to CopyToList. They allow you to work faster, so in other words you're using fewer keystrokes and less mousing. They allow you to work more accurately, and relevantly to this particular macro, CopyToList, they allow you to maintain focus on what you're working on, and they do things in the background for you. So CopyToList uses, well, I've said 1 and 3, in other words you work faster and you maintain your focus better. So the focus is held on the working text, so that might be a paper or a book or a chapter of a book, and while you're working on it you want to copy items into a separate file, which might be a style sheet, so words into a style sheet, for example. That's where it started. So the focus is always on the main file, and the copying is done in the background without any distraction to you. So how does a whole group of macros come about? Well, it's done by teamwork. You help me to help you. So you say things like, well, yes, that macro is useful, but I wonder if you could get it to also do, or whatever. So that generates either a new feature to an existing macro or a new macro altogether. So the first macro in the list was CopyToList, and what we did with that was that the word that you're focusing on in the text, or selecting, or just clicking in a word, or you end up with a whole line of text, that's then going to be copied to the cursor position in the other file, or it could automatically put at the end of that file, so the choice is yours in the way that when you run that one. But then someone says, well, yeah, okay, but would it be helpful to be able to add the word or phrase into an alphabetically ordered list? So yes, okay, but I have to say, well, where is the list? Whereabouts in the other file is the list? And you have to specify a heading such as word list. So with CopyToList, that generated a new macro called CopyToList alphabetic, and you have to put at the beginning of the document, at the beginning of the macro, the line which says follow heading equals, and then you give the name, or the wording in exact upper and lower case for what the heading is. Okay, so the next person says, well, I've got more than one alpha list. And there's two approaches to this. The first one is to clone the macro. In other words, you end up with 3 separate macros, each with its own keystroke. So you'd have, let's say, CopyToList names, places, and words. Each has its own keystroke, and within that copy of the original macro, you have a different follow heading line, and of course the reason for changing the name of the macro is you can't have more than one macro with the same name. So that's the first way of doing it, first approach. Why have I used L? Well, if you look at the keyboard, N and P are more or less in the same sort of place, and so to kind of make it easier for your hand movements, I happen to have chosen L, so that all 3 are sort of vaguely in the right sort of, the same sort of place. It's just me trying to speed things up. Okay, so the other way of doing it is CopyToList menu, alpha menu. So it's one single macro, and that means you've only got one keystroke to remember. And it throws a menu onto the screen, and you select which of the 3 different lists you want to use according to what number you type in. You type in 3 or 6 or 9, and So for the word list, for example, you would have Control Alt, say I use Control Alt Num6, and then 9. But why this 3, 6, or 9? And why num 3, 6, or 9? Again, it's my sort of minimizing hand movement that the 3, 6, 9 are the numbers at the right hand side of the numeric keypad. So the right hand only has to move from the mouse to one of those three keys. So that speeds it up. Less mouse movement, or less hand movement. And then just a bit sort of anal, but I can go even faster by only having, it's just it's a technique I could use in the macros. So all you have to do with Alpha Menu Quick is to type the keystroke and then just literally press the number that you want. So it's one key press less, because you don't have to press the enter key. You just run the macro and then press the number you want, the number key. Okay, somebody else comes along and says yes, that's fine, but unfortunately my words are in a table, so the table might be something like this. Well, this was the first one, so it's a 6 by 2 table, and 2 letters in each box, and of course, just to be awkward, the bottom one has 4 letters in the same box. Okay, so fine, I write a macro for that, and that's CopyToList alphabetic table. And there are various formats you can use at the moment. There are those 4, but then if you happen to have something by 3 or whatever, then let me know, send me a sample, and I will generate the appropriate, well, it's the same macro, but you put in to the head of the macro whether you want 2 by 6 or whatever. Then the next person says, yes, but mine is a list with ABC headings, so that might be something like this. So it's not a table, it's all within a list, but you've got a letter, an alphabetic letter at the beginning of each section, so somehow the macro has to know to go to the right section and then put the word in the right alphabetical order within that section. So that's called CopyToList alphabetic list. Bit of an anticlimax for the end here. I've got another macro, the 7th macro. I was adding words to a switch list for multi-switch, and so that was me, not anybody else, asking to add words to a switch list, and so there's copy to switch list. Okay, that's it. Happy macroing, happy list making, everybody. Bye for now.